One of the most important decisions a runner has to make in the run-up to a marathon is which shoe to choose for the big day. My name's Dawn and I'm going to be running Abingdon Marathon in just 4 weeks' time for Welsh Masters. So in this video, I'm going to take you through 5 shoes that I have under consideration to wear for the marathon. So I'm going to go through each shoe in turn and its pros and cons for the marathon. And if you've worn any of these shoes for a marathon, please let me know in the comments below what your experience was. So first up is the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus. And they're in it's called, what's the colour? It's called Hazard Green. So this shoe is extremely light. We'll put the actual weight up on the screen here for you now. And to be honest, I've only worn this shoe for about 13 miles, so I've not worn it over a long distance. However, it is very responsive. Now, I'm not a shoe YouTuber, so I'm not here to tell you the ins and outs of the shoe. What I'm doing is giving you my experience of what these shoes feel like for me when I'm out running. And obviously, feel for me is all what it's about, because if you're not comfortable in the shoe, then it's not the shoe for a marathon. So no matter what the specifics are of the shoe, it has to be right. So this is a real firm shoe. You can see I can it's got no give at all, in all honesty. It's got a carbon plate that runs through it. So I do find that I move along at quite a nice clip. Now, my concern with this shoe is, would my legs last out for a full marathon in them? Because it does make you move quite quickly. So the upper of this shoe is really comfortable. There's plenty of toe room. Well, for me there is. And I really don't feel like it's pinching my toes at all. So I don't think I'd have a problem with black toenails or at the end of the run. But again, it's whether I would feel comfortable after 26.2 miles or up to 26.2 miles. It's just, I think, if I'm truthful, it just feels a little bit too responsive in terms of the firmness of the shoe. So on a good day, I'm probably going to be out for 3.5 hours in this shoe. Now, if you were a 2-hour 30 or, quicker, or even, up to 3 hours, maybe it would be the ideal shoe for you. But I think out of the 5 shoes that I'm going to show you, this is number 5. So the next shoe of choice is the Adidas Adizero Pro 4s. As you can see, in a nice snazzy colour, black, green, blue, silver. Really nice looking shoe. And in all honesty, I was really excited to get this shoe. So I've run marathons in the Pro 2s. I've had a pair of Pro 3s. And in fact, one of the other shoes is going to be a Pro 3 and a Pro 2 to look at. But I've never run any distance further than 20 miles in these shoes. Now, what happened when I ran 20 miles in these shoes? Remember, I was really excited. When I first put them on, they felt absolutely beautiful. They're so spongy, so comfortable. In fact, if I'm stood here in the shoe, I'd say it's one of the most comfortable shoes I've stood in. They have rods instead of plates, which is the same as the Pro 2s. And I think this is what the Adidas range has, is rods rather than plates. So in that respect, they do feel more natural on your foot than maybe the Nike shoes that I have plates in, or other shoes that have plates in. But sadly, the problem I had when I ran 20 miles in these shoes was I came back and my toes were in absolute agony. So I'm not sure why, but they almost felt like my toes were bruised. And by the end of that 20-mile run, I wanted to rip them off my feet, which is such a shame, because up to 10 miles, absolutely fine. But 20 miles, oh my God, I couldn't imagine running 26 miles with my toes feeling that way. So like John, I went half a size up in these shoes because they apparently measure quite small. So I've gone for a size 6 instead of a size 5.5. So they still felt quite snug. And I don't think I'd want to go any bigger because I think my feet would just move around too much. So I'm not sure what the reason is for my toes feeling so sore after the run. Have any of you ever experienced that from wearing these shoes? As we can see, it's quite narrow across the toe box. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe they're just a bit narrower than the shoes I normally wear. So for that reason, this is my 4th choice. And unfortunately, it's a gone. So the next choice, oh boy, what a beautiful shoe. Look at that. Look at the colour. I just love this shoe. I really do. Okay, so this is the Adidas Adizero Pro 3s. And just like the Pro 4s, as I said, they have carbon rods. So they feel quite natural on your foot. They have a beautiful, beautiful cushioning. However, compared to the Pro 4s, they are a firmer shoe. So although they're really cushioned, they are still firmer. And I find them quite aggressive to run in. So they're really, really good. And I feel really fast in them. But a bit similar to when I put on the Asics shoes, I do wonder whether I would be able to cope with a full marathon in the shoe, because it just propels me forward. And if I'm truthful, I wore these, actually, I wore them on a 20-mile run and I loved them. But by the end, my calves were really aching. And I think it's because I was just being forced forward quite a lot. So although I love this shoe, I'm not sure whether I would actually wear it for the full 26.2 miles. So the lockdown on this shoe is really, really good. I've never had any problem with the tongue or the lacing. So yeah, a really, really, really nice shoe. I actually did want to wear this shoe for the marathon, and even now I have a sort of just a niggle in the back of my brain saying risk it. Risk it for the biscuit. Who said that, I wonder? No, risk it or not risk it. Would you risk it? Not sure, so I'm not going to throw them. I'm going to place them right there. Next up is the Alphafly 3s. Now I have the Alphafly 1s, and I do say this shoe feels more natural than the Alphafly 1s. However, out of all of the shoes that I'm showing you today, this one feels the most unnatural on my foot. Now, as we can see, it has a carbon plate, which we all know anyhow, and it has AirPods. It kind of has a really, really soft feel about it, but you can see it is actually quite firm. You can't bend it at all, okay, and that's obviously because of the plate. But when you're actually wearing the shoe, it's really soft inside. Now, I have worn this for 20 miles, and I actually loved it. I was quite surprised because I didn't think I would. Because as I said, it took me a little bit of time to get used to wearing it. On my foot, it feels slightly unnatural. But when I'm actually moving along at what I would say is my marathon pace, or close to marathon pace, it actually feels quite good. Now, if I'm running slowly in the shoe, it doesn't like it at all. And I find myself tripping over my own feet. So it is a really, really close consideration of out of the shoes that I'm looking at for the day. Now, I do have a slight concern, and the concern is that when I get to 20 miles, or sorry, when I get past 20 miles and my legs start to get really tired and I start to slow, which I probably will, is whether this shoe will then be too aggressive for me and too much. Now, I have heard it said that this shoe you shouldn't wear if you're running anything less than 7-minute miling. Well, I can say that's a load of bull. Okay, so I run less than 7-minute miling and the shoe is perfectly fine. However, it does like to clip along at a nice, I'd say a nice steady pace rather than a plod. Woo! Finally, the last shoe, and probably my first choice for wearing for the marathon. The reason being, I have worn these Adidas Adizero Pro 2s in other marathons, and I'd say these are my safe choice. They've suited me in every marathon I've run, so I've run 3 marathons in them. And I've had about 6 or 7 pairs of them, so I know they suit me. Now, out of all of the shoes, as I said, they are my safe bet. Now, I like the others. They have carbon rods, they have the foam, they're lightweight, although probably a little bit heavier than the Pro 3s, but we'll put the weights up on the screen anyhow so we can compare what the weights are of each of the shoes. But there's not much to say about them really, apart from they are a safe bet and they always feel comfortable. It's like putting on an old pair of slippers. Now, when it comes to the marathon, sometimes we have to choose, do we go for speed or do we go for comfort? Now, there are obviously within the shoes I've shown you, probably faster shoes, but these are the most comfortable. So at the end of the day, am I going to go for a risk? Am I going to go for something that feels comfortable to 20 miles, but I'm not sure what it's going to feel like after 20 miles? Or am I going to go for what I know has taken me to 26.2 in the past? So what's it to be? The shoes on my feet or the shoes in my hands?
I wouldn't do the shoes in your hands because you've got 2 left shoes and it might be really awkward.
So let me know your thoughts. Have you run marathons in these shoes? And as I said earlier, what was your experience? So I hope you've enjoyed me going through the choice I have of shoes to wear for Abingdon Marathon. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, of course, we'd love you to do so. There is no pressure and it's free. So until next time, guys, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.